Cindy and Josh here.
Hello, hello. It's been a while, so I feel we better get on here and share with you some more. We're not doing it live today because we want to test out some equipment to get some better quality. We found that it's just been blurry and the audio hasn't been right, so we're trying something different. So sorry if you enjoy watching this live, but you can go back and watch it. It's still good. So today we want to talk to you more about finances, and specifically we're going to talk to you about our experience with Dave Ramsey. And the reason we came across Dave Ramsey is because we're basically like the majority of people our age and probably even younger. We just didn't get very much training, if you will, or education when it comes to finances. And so we went through the school of hard knocks, meaning we spent more money than we brought in. We were in a cycle of debt. The Lord blessed us a couple times and helped us get out, but we were too hard-headed or just ignorant. I don't know what you want to say.
Both. I'm seriously
and
both.
We
I
just
think
went
we're
right
stubborn.
back into debt, and so
habits.
Yeah, so not having a foundation for good money handling things. Someone introduced us to Dave Ramsey, and it was basically a turning point for us because he just puts things very plainly. I remember watching his videos and just kind of a smack your forehead. That's so plainly obvious, but it's only obvious if someone tells you, right?
Yeah.
It's lost on you if you don't know, and so we really enjoyed it. We enjoyed it not simply because it was a huge benefit to us, but he shared a lot of his struggles with it, and he comes at it from a Christian-based idea. And I'll never forget the portion he was sharing when he brought out Proverbs 22. In Proverbs 22, we often refer to it when we're talking about raising up our kids. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. But he pointed out that we never add on the next verse. And the next verse is the rich rules over the poor, and the borrower becomes the lender's slave. And so he's not only trying to set you up as an adult and to be successful, but he's trying to break the cycle to where you train up your child to also understand how to break have a better foundation.
Be financially literate.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really good for us, and
that was a turning point for me. I think hearing that scripture in particular, that there are biblical concepts for taking care of your money and your finances. And we've talked numerous times over the past few years about the parable of the servants who had the 5 denarii and the 2 and then the 1.
Stewards,
The stewards, But for some reason, it never clicked for me. It never clicked for me that we are supposed to multiply what God has given us.
Yeah.
And to be wise with it. And I've always had this mentality of God will take care of us. And that's it. That's the end of it. God will take care of us. Never really knowing that or thinking or realizing that we still have to take care of the things that God gives us when he's taking care of us. And so that was a huge...
We can definitely say he took care of us because we received a lot of help during our struggling years.
Yes.
A lot of help from brethren and from family.
Parents,
So
we did.
Not that he didn't take care of us, but I think he wants us to get out of those cycles because, as I said, the rich rules over the poor and the borrower becomes a slave to the lender. He doesn't want us to be slaves to money.
No.
He wants us to be free to serve him and to give him glory and to take what he has given us and multiply it so we can help others. So Yeah.
And there's other scriptures in the Bible about money. So, and I don't know, that it was just a huge turning point for us. So we want to tell you a little bit about, like, maybe many of you have heard of Dave Ramsey. Those of you who haven't, we'll give you the baby steps that he has. That doesn't take away, like, you should go get his books, maybe participate in Financial Peace University.
Yes.
But we'll tell you how we apply it. and the things that we do differently. That's kind of the one thing that I was telling Josh what I wanted to convey in this video. And the one thing that I really want to convey is to do your research. Go out there, get several books, watch some YouTube videos, and figure out all this stuff as it applies to you. Dave Ramsey isn't the only place to get financial advice, and a lot of people disagree with some of the things that he does, but it works.
Yeah.
Most of the time it works. However,
at least it's a good starting point. It get your feet wet, and then you can still get confident that, hey,
yes,
I can manage this. I can start being an adult with my money.
Absolutely.
And then as the wheels start turning, the momentum starts going, you start bringing in more information, and you find out what works best for your family, for your situation.
Yeah. So there's 7 baby steps, and the first one is to have
an emergency fund.
Yeah.
And a big reason for that is get rid of your credit cards.
Yeah.
That was our biggest downfall. Is our credit cards. It just kept adding up. Again, spending money we don't have. And so many people say, well, I need a credit card in case of emergencies. No. Nope. That's what an emergency fund is for. Yeah. Because guess what? Emergencies turn into, well, I'm tired and I really don't want to make dinner, so we're going to have pizza tonight, and we put it on a credit card. And the thing we don't realize is when we charge that $12 pizza on a credit card, it ends up costing us probably $24 by the time we've done paying the interest on it. And financing anything with interest is just it sets you back. Yeah. And I know some things are unavoidable, like a mortgage and so forth, but if you can get away from credit cards for emergencies, that's a big first step.
I think it's also about like breaking that habit. Like you had said, you get into the habit of using the credit card. So you really should be getting rid of all of your credit cards and paying them down while you don't use them. But unfortunately, stuff happens. You need new tires for your car, or your water heater breaks, or whatever. So you have, Dave Ramsey suggests a $1,000 emergency fund, $500 for like single moms and stuff who have a hard time building that up, I think is what he says. But there are a lot of people out there who do not feel like that's enough. For instance, if your water heater does break down, or your AC unit breaks down, which ours did last summer, $1,000 isn't enough to cover it. Yeah. So you do, once again, $1,000 is a great place to start, but you might find that you feel more comfortable having a larger emergency fund. But the purpose of it is to have it there for an emergency, not for pizza, not for birthday presents, not for anything else. It's there so you don't use your credit card.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, there's no feeling like spending years and years and years of stuff popping up on you and having to put it on a credit card when you finally get to a point where something pops up and you have it covered.
Yeah.
You don't have to. There's an amazing feeling behind feeling like I was responsible. I prepared for life, because so many things we call emergencies really aren't emergencies. It's life. You can expect it to happen.
That's right.
Tires wear out.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. So. If you live in a home, you know that someday you're going to need a new roof. Like, these are things that you should be preparing for. It isn't. Right. No. You don't let it become an emergency. I love that. That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. So that's baby step number 1. Super important. Get away from the credit cards. Number 2 is to wipe out all your debt. So now you're not using your credit cards. Let's be honest. Most of the time our debt is credit cards. I'm trying to think. What other kinds of debt are there? There's like mortgage,
loans,
car loans, student loans.
Yes.
Good stuff. Our issue was credit cards. We didn't have student loans. We did have car payments at one point, so we did get rid of those. But anyway, knock out your debt. Dave Ramsey uses something called the Snowball Method, which means if you have 5 different credit cards and they all have different amounts, start with the lowest one first. So if you have a credit card that has $500 on it and $5,000 owed, knock out the $500 one first, because then you can put everything onto the other credit cards when you're paying it off. That's called the Snowball Method. There's another method a lot of people like, which is the Avalanche Method. And a lot of people say you should tackle your high interest rate credit cards first. But that can be harder sometimes. And so just, once again, do your research. But if you're brand new to this, you just want to knock out your debt, I do recommend starting with your smallest debts first, because you'll feel super accomplished and you'll feel like, I can do this. I'm going to do the next one. And it's really important to have those wins.
Yes.
Yeah. Anything to add to that?
Just, again, it's, when years of being in the same situation, and to reach that point where you're debt free, it just makes all of the hard work worth it.
It does.
All of it worth it. So.
And none of this matters if you don't have a budget. Just a heads up. Because you can say you're going to do these things, but if you're not telling your money where to go, I promise it will flitter away. We still do that sometimes. We don't pay attention to maybe
Shiny
this past
tools.
month. I don't know. Your money will disappear. Okay. Number 3 is to have a 3 to 6 month fully funded emergency fund. And the concept behind this is to have, if you were to...
If I get hurt on a job or I lose my job, or hey, a lot of people experienced a lot of this last year with COVID, to where they're stuck at home not collecting a paycheck, and we see how well the relief came for that, and relying on that is not what we want to do. God doesn't want us to rely on that. He wants us to rely on Him and be smart and be wise and be prepared for those things. And so having that 3 to 6 months is a great thing. Yeah. The funny thing is we don't have that. And
we don't.
And that's where this adjustment comes in, is we don't have our 3 to 6 months because we kind of skipped ahead to the next baby step, which is investing.
Can I say something really quick? I just want to clarify on the 3 to 6 month thing. So as an example, if your family makes $100,000 a year, you're going to want to save $25,000 to $50,000 in your account. So that way you have 3 months worth of income sitting there waiting for you for an emergency. And of course, maybe you make $100,000 a year, but you only spend $60,000 a year. Then you don't have to save as much because your expenses aren't as high. But I just wanted to clarify really quick. Okay, and then on to the next thing, investing.
Expenses. Right?
Yeah, it's all about the expenses.
Not necessarily what you make. So, but investing. And so we started building up our 3 to 6 months.
We did.
But through some opportunities, mainly just through learning about S&P 500 and index funds, and really starting to learn about these things, we decided when the big dip happened this last March through COVID, it was just a great time to get in. We wanted to take the opportunity to take our savings and watch it grow, and so that's what we did. We got into an index fund, and now we're getting ready to take our index fund and what we made off of it, because we gained 40% because of the way things work. The way the market. It was untypical. S&P 500 and index funds typically are 10% average over the life
20 year time frame.
So now we want to roll it into our Roth IRA and max out our Roth IRA for 2020. So because we still have the opportunity to do that before taxes are done. So that's why we varied it. We varied it how we're doing it, but we're still planning on having an emergency fund because we have mouths to feed and a roof to keep over our head.
It was something we felt comfortable doing. Yeah. We talked to each other, and I work too, so I was like, well, if something came up and he did lose his job or he couldn't work, I was like, I feel like we could make ends meet with what I do. So it's not a huge concern. But I'm not telling you to skip this stuff either. We're just telling you how we've applied it to us. Yeah. So, a little caveat there. Yeah. Okay, and the next one after investing, so we're on baby step 5 now, is saving for college for your children. So we're not going to do this. It's just not something that is important to us. That sounds terrible. We're not convicted to do it. We do have some kids who want to go to college, and so we're working with them on that. Like they're going to graduate high school with an AA because he knows what he wants to do when he gets out of college, and we're looking into colleges. out of high school. He's in high school, dual credit enrollment with the local community college, and that's free to participate in that program. And so we've talked to him quite a bit about the fact he's going to have to pay for the rest of his college. So we're looking at schools, and checking out the costs and stuff and seeing what he can handle. And we've talked about we'll help our kids, but we're not going to pay for their college. We're big fans of when people put in the hard
Skin
work
in the game.
And they pay for things, they're more likely to value it. Yeah. And we're not saying don't pay for your kids' college. No. Like every family is different. Yeah. There's no judgment over here if you do that. It's an amazing thing.
If you have the opportunity, it's great.
Such a blessing, yes. But for us, we got 6 kids and we're not rolling in dough, so we're just trying to do the best we can. Yeah. So anyway, our family's gonna skip that step. Yeah. That's not something we're gonna do. And the next is
pay off the house. When you get a college fund set up for all your kids, next step is pay off the house, and that kind of gets into the earlier you pay off the house, the less interest that you end up paying on it. For example, you have throw some numbers out there, a house that's $200,000. By the time you pay it off 30 years later,
$350,000.
It's $350,000. Yeah. So a lot of people, and include Dave Ramsey, say pay it off early because you lower your interest rate. Again, this is where doing your research comes in, because there are actually different schools of thought about that. Sometimes the better opportunity, even though you might end up paying more in interest by waiting the 30 years, taking that extra money that you would have put in to pay off your house early and investing in it might actually yield more than what you would have gained just by simply paying less interest. And so that's where the research comes in, is understanding that, hey, maybe I need some more working capital for investing, and instead of paying off my house, I'll put it in investing, and I'll actually yield greater than if I would have simply paid my house. So, but it's up to each person's situation. So again, do your research. Do your research.
And there are calculators out there to calculate, like, if I were to give an extra $100 a month, when would my mortgage be paid off? And I think, do not quote me, if you pay an extra payment once a year, you end up knocking off like 7 years off your mortgage. Might be worth it,
Yeah, I think it's if you pay it every 2 weeks, you pay half of it every 2 weeks instead of once a month, because of those months that have extra weeks in it. Yeah. So we haven't got that point. Okay, we're still working on some of the other steps, so this isn't a concern of ours. And when we get there, we're going to do a lot of research where we're at. So if we've been in this house for 10 years and we finally have our fully funded emergency fund and we're investing the way that we should, we're going to use a calculator and we're going to figure out what's most beneficial to our family. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. And then the last step, not the least though.
No, this is the best step. This is why we're doing this.
Exactly.
Is to give. And to get to the point where you can give like you've never been able to give before. Yeah. A little emotional, sorry. Yes. This is really important to us.
Yes. And this comes back to what people have done for us.
Yes.
We've had so many people help us over the years and help us when we're struggling, and we wouldn't be where we are today without their love and their generosity. Yeah. And we that's another cycle that we want to break. We don't want to feel like we're needing that anymore. We want it to flip the coin on that, flip the switch and turn around and be those people. Be those people who see, hey, this brother, this sister is struggling, our family members are struggling, and we would love to generously give with as God says, with nothing expected in return. Nothing expected in return, because so many have done that for us. And that's really what Financial Peace University and Dave Ramsey's ultimate goal is to get to a point where you are free from all of those things to where you can just give like you've never given before. And that's our goal. That's our focus. And that's why we're so motivated to do this and inspired to do this, is because we want to give back what has so generously been given to us. So.
We do. And I will close this by saying, I I talk a lot about finances. I talk about money. I talk about investing. I talk about all sorts of stuff that has to do with money and finances. And I want to make it clear, it's not because I'm like obsessed with money. It's not because I want to drive a BMW or anything like that. I'm not really like showy like that. Our goal is that Josh retires so that he can pastor a church. Like that is, he was a pastor at one point. It's what he's convicted to do, but it's been too hard on us to have a family, work all the time, take care of the kids, take care of me, and pastor a church. And so the reason why we're so passionate about this and why I share a lot of it and is because it's on my heart to get to this point, this baby step 7, so that we can be financially stable and sound to do what God is calling us to do.
Yeah.
We want to be able to not have to go to work so he can go help somebody move into a house or, anything. Time is valuable. We all know this.
Yeah.
And it's the thing we can't get back, right? It's our greatest resource that we can never get back. And if we're financially stable and financially sound, we can then utilize our time for better, greater things, I think.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I wanted to share that.
Most definitely.
Okay. Anything else?
No. Just it's been a amazing couple years. A lot of difficult times. A lot of paycheck to paycheck. Paycheck running out a week before and so getting to this point, we just feel extremely blessed for the people that have come into our lives, for the God giving us the wisdom to do this, and we just look forward to our lives being one that can just give so much glory and honor to God because of what He's done for us, and it's worth the effort, and that's the big saying that Dave Ramsey says is live like no one now, meaning don't live beyond your means like a lot of people do, and then later on in life you'll live like no one else because they weren't prepared. They just weren't prepared. So
all right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching, and let us know what you think, or if you use Dave Ramsey, or if you had a different school of thought, anything. We'd love to hear your opinions. Bye.
Bye.